Hello, I'm Dan Bowles. Thank you for being here in spirit. I'm grateful that you are here to participate in the briefing of my book publication, Are We Just Bubbles? Many of you friends who are watching this have been influential in the writing of my book. Since childhood, I have had an intense curiosity about how things work and why things work the way they do. Even now at my age, I still have this childhood curiosity. It has been this quest for knowledge and discovery that has given me great satisfaction in life. Like many of you, I have been given great gifts of imagination and creativity, and eyes that see things that others sometimes don't see. It has been these things that have helped me in my engineering career, and more recently in my songwriting. But there's one thing that I have pondered since I was a child. As I sat gazing into the heavens with my dad one night, I wondered, how big is the universe? How far do the stars go? My dad said it goes on forever, but what's forever? I will start by reading an excerpt from my book. One night several years ago, I woke up from a revelatory dream, or maybe it was more like a vision. I felt that it was important, so I got up and wrote it down. I called it Sparrow Whispers. Here's what I wrote. Just this morning, on September the 12th, 2010, at 1:30 a.m., a metaphorical sparrow awoke me with a message. She said that she was sent by the one who knows, and that I must get up and write this down accurately, lest I forget or discard this as a silly dream, and that I must spread this as a second messenger to all who will listen. Here's what the sparrow said. I am sending this message through the simplest of means, so that all who seek the truth with humility can see it, and can know the answers to questions that plague their minds. I do this because arrogance has blinded all that possess it, and has been the original cause of all your discord. What are you? You are only two things of all possibilities. One portion of you is physical and is bound to the first thing, which is the universe. The other portion is your intangible spirit, which is a second thing and is similar to the laws that govern the universe, or in modern terms, software. Your two parts are separate and cannot affect each other directly, even though they both are embodied in you. Your universe is just one finite thing of many identical but individual pieces. And all of its apparent properties, time, matter with its own properties, space, and energy, come from one unifying source on a continuing basis. Its existence is the result of what you think of as the expansion of space. It had no beginning in the time sense, because time is only a property of the universe. Your spiritual and tangible part is your conscious mind that is aware, can reason and understand what I am saying. Like the universe, your spirit is continuing to be created, and your knowledge and awareness grows. You can use spiritual tools like mathematics to better understand the behavior of the universe. But your understanding and awareness of those laws still cannot affect them in any way, nor can be the cause of any existence. Your confusion in this matter comes because the behavior of the universe is governed by a spiritual type law, which comes from outside of it, and is similar to your own spiritual nature. As for why you exist, because I love. It is now 3 a.m. and I'm finished writing. Going back to bed, will attempt to spread the message in the morning. This message talks about our two parts. Our physical being, which is bound by the universe and laws of physics, and our spiritual being, which is not. Even though they both are within us, they cannot directly affect each other. Me thinking about and willing that gravity can be suspended will not suspend it. Gravity acts independent of our will. Even though we can't see it, it is physical and is a part of the universe. Our will can affect spiritual things like our happiness. In some cases, a strong will can extend life, or despair can cause life to end prematurely. Life is really a spiritual thing. Life resides in a physical host, but life itself, the fact that you are alive and not dead, is a spiritual thing. Another thing that it says in the message is for all who seek truth with humility. That means, regardless of your human condition or circumstances, you can find answers to the question about your existence as long as you seek them with humility. You could be a man or a woman, or of any race or religion, rich or poor, a scientist or minister, or a common laborer providing for the family. You can find answers to your questions if you seek the truth with humility. The message don't give you the answer directly. It says you can find the answers if you seek them with humility. What prompted the writing of this book was the order to spread the message. At first, I didn't understand all that the message said. In order to write it, I had to rethink my concept of physical reality and present my interpretations in such a way that what I was seeing would be believable by others. I had to show how it was possible that invisible and expanding space bubbles could be the cause of all that we see going on around us. The chapters of this book are technically written, but they are not very deep, technically. There are no proofs in the book. It basically gives you concepts of how things could work using expanding space bubbles. The idea of everything expanding might be a little bit hard to understand, though. All we have seen appears to be solid, like this rock. We look at this rock and say that it is pretty much the same as it was 1,000 years ago when an American Indian picked it up out of the Ohio River and carried it up into the forest on my farm to crack nuts and to grind acorns. It was left there in the woods where I found it, buried under centuries of accumulated dirt and debris. But I really didn't find it in the same place where it was left in the universe. Our Earth, while orbiting the Sun, is hurling through the universe in places we've never been, being slung on a spiral arm of our mediocre galaxy amongst millions of other galaxies. And what is all this physical stuff? According to what I believe, our physical reality is just a facade, like a curtain, for it is all made up of invisible, expanding space bubbles. Everything in the universe is made of them. The elements, subatomic particles, the space between the nucleus of an atom and its electrons, and even all vacuum space within our universe. These are tiny, ever so tiny bubbles, maybe 1/millionth of a billionth of a meter. As tiny as they are the only thing making up the entire universe. A line 1 meter in length, about a yard, would consist of 1 quadrillion of these bubbles strung end to end like the necklace beads on a string. A light year contains 9 1/2 quadrillion meters, so a line 1 light year in length would consist of 9 1/2 quadrillion space bubbles strung end to end. And the estimated diameter of the universe using the Big Bang Theory is 92 billion light years. So just the amount of bubbles it would take to make a line across the universe would be 920 billion quadrillion bubbles. And if the universe is a sphere, we would have to cube that number, roughly, multiply times itself by 3 times, to find the total number of space bubbles making up the universe. The size of these numbers are so big, they are very hard to grasp. Even though this is a tremendous number of bubbles, it is a finite amount and not infinite. Also, I'll mention that the number of bubbles in the universe is fixed. No more have been made since the universe came into existence. Now here is something that is very important. All of the properties of the universe, things that act on the physical but are not actually what we think of as physical, things such as gravity, inertia, electromagnetic forces, energy, and even time, are caused solely by the expansion of these invisible space bubbles from within. You and the very space where you are is expanding even as I speak. The atoms we are made of and the space here between us is expanding at the speed of light into a blackness that never was before, growing from within. We cannot see this expansion because we are expanding with everything else. But the existence of all things physical as we see them and the passing of time depends upon a creative breath that is continually being given to expand the bubbles everywhere from within. It is the expansion of the bubbles that causes the existence of the universe. Without expansion, nothing of the universe exists. Now I will briefly go through the chapters of this book to give you an idea of what it's all about. Again, the book is called Are We Just Bubbles? An Alternate View of Existence. In Chapter 1, the 3 basic measurements we have to measure all actions of the universe in the MKS measurement system are length in meters, mass in kilograms, and time in seconds. One of the reasons scientists haven't been able to figure out exactly how the universe works is because of an assumption that was made about length that might not be true. Our fundamental length measurement, the meter, is assumed to be constant throughout the universe, and constant even outside the universe into the infinite void that our universe is expanding into. There is a possibility that our entire universe is expanding within, and that it is invisibly expanding into the void. We can't see it because our measuring sticks, and we ourselves are expanding along with it. This first chapter explains how we can be expanding into the void outside of the universe and yet can't tell that we are. In chapters 2 and 3, I go into how the universe began and how energy and time are functions of expansion, not the other way around like the Big Bang Theory assumes. There was no Big Bang. All of the energy of the universe was not present when the universe was first formed. Instead, it is continuing to flow into the universe from some unknown source outside of it. I call this creative energy absolute energy. And it is in the form of new space material coming from within each of the space bubbles, causing it to expand. Then in chapter 4, I attempt to determine the size and age of the universe. But we find out that our length measurement is a variable within the universe, and the passage of time is not constant throughout, so we might not be able to determine the age or the size of the universe from where we now exist within it. In chapter 5, I talk about the mysterious things of gravity and inertia, and how they can be caused by the expanding space bubbles. The Indian that picked up this rock might have interpreted gravity as a spirit within it that makes it want to return to the earth from where it came. It might sound kind of silly to us now, but the scientists even today still don't have any better explanation than the Indian did. Newton and Einstein described very well the behavior of this rock falling, but they don't know how and why it wants to fall. In chapter 5, I show how the bubbles make the rock fall and why. In chapter 6, I talk about the invisible, mysterious electric, magnetic, and gravitational fields, and how they are all similar, but are different and can act somewhat independently. Chapter 7, I talk about chaos, how the bubbles are expanding in random quantum steps. I talk about entropy, how useful energy all ends up as unusable heat in the universe. And I give a mathematical definition of time and energy in terms of independent space expansion. Now in doing this, I have stuck my neck way out. But if expanding space is the cause of all physical existence, then there must be a way to show how the physical properties are a result of expansion. Now, if you're not a technical-minded person, you don't have to understand everything in these chapters. Just go ahead and wade through the murky waters and seine out any information you can use. These chapters are primarily written to show the technically minded how things would work in an expanding space bubble universe. Non-technical folks should be able to read and understand the preface and the epilogue. The epilogue has a synopsis of an expanding space bubble universe. The conclusion looks at our overall existence. Truth exists regardless of what people are persuaded to believe. If my vision of physical existence is the truth, with some intellectual work, we should in time be able to understand how and why the universe works the way it does. We will see that the universe and every physical thing depends upon an expansive breath inflating each of the space bubbles. If this expansion stops, all physical existence will cease. There will be not any time, nor even a record that the universe ever existed. But even with this knowledge, we still will not know where the creative energy comes from, or how the universe was formed. We still will not know where life came from and why it evolves. There is more to us than the physical. There is our spiritual part that was talked about in the message. Our spirit is not bound to the universe or subject to the laws of physics. Our spirits and souls exist in the ever-present, and they are ageless. We don't live in the yesterday. We don't live in the tomorrow. We live in the now. Our spirits and souls are a gift of love that the Creator shares with us, and we must share this love with each other. We have to humbly admit that we are not here by our own doing, and that knowledge of the universe workings has no bearing on its existence. We are a part of this glorious creation, not the cause of it, and we must peacefully coexist within it. Thank you for listening.